you don't get the show.
And the first one I just want to jump right into is this thing from Right Wing Watch, which, okay, granted, it's from a place that's actually supposed to watch the right wing. So the problem is that people can say biased things like that. So I'm willing to give them that. I'm not just gonna go in and say. But it's interesting because what this is talking about, this article, is how people on the alt right, which for people that don't know, those are people that go like crazy. Because a lot of people get it all mixed up. They think that if you say alt right, it means like anyone who's a Republican or even everyone who voted for Trump. It's not necessarily that. Like these are people that take it extreme to the point where they don't even really side with most of the things Republicans want. It's like they almost want anarchy. And a lot of times there's racism and nationalism and stuff tied up into it as well. So it's not really a great group. And you have some people try to get all offended when you call them that, but it's like the company you keep. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I hung out with the homeboys and they're shooting them up, even if I ain't shooting things up, am I gonna really be surprised when the cops come and looking for us? No, I'm not. Now it's kind of funny because speaking of a gang, they're recruiting these alt-righters on video games. And it's kind of interesting because if you think about it, they kind of profiled a lot of these people who end up kind of being like racist, even if they don't understand the true background of like why people are racist. Like you think it's like simple, like, oh, I hate black people, I hate Hispanic people. But a lot of these people have like this whole thing. It's almost like a racist Bible. But for a lot of these people, they search for these people in games the same way gangs people search out young people because they have like a problem with their life. Like they're angry, they don't know what to identify with, they feel lost, they don't feel like they have friends, they don't have a girl, they have family problems, and they're playing this game all day. So they're being targeted by these groups like 4chan who has their own little side things that are either racist or homophobic or misogynistic or things like that, and they're attacking people in games. And I have to say, I personally have never seen any of this. I don't know if maybe they can sense my color, my skin when I play these games. I don't know, Reddy, have you ever seen like anything that was like recruitment or political? Like, I mean, it's one thing to log into a game and someone types something offensive or says something, whatever. We see that all the time. But have you ever actually seen it where it seemed like they're trying to recruit or looking for people?
I was about to say this sounds like another Wednesday night at League of Legends, but anyways,
yeah, right.
Yeah, I have yet to ever see like the whole recruitment thing, but it's like the thing that gets me about the gaming community is like we're amazing people, but there's a couple of bad apples out there that it's like, damn. And like for us that when we used to go to Red Eye, like we've seen some things, we've done some things. And for like that type of group of people to go, damn, it's got to be bad.
Yeah.
And it's just like the thing that I never kind of understand as far as like the gaming community is just to that level of toxicity that sometimes gets in the games where you'll be sitting there like League of Legends is a key example. Overwatch is another one where you'll be playing and you'll just have these people go off on a tantrum because you did one tiny like little thing not right.
Yeah.
And
you can even pick the wrong class that isn't the hottest class.
Dude, and people go on a tirade on that game. And it's just like, dude, we're here to have fun. Like, it's not like we're playing a ranked match right now. And even then, on a ranked match, it's like you have people that are just so like, and I understand this more so. So like the only other game that I've really been playing a lot recently, and I'm surprised because I put it down for a really long time, and then I picked it back up, and I'm like, damn, I don't know why I stopped playing this, was Rainbow Six Siege. And they do every season, typical thing that they do, you have to do your like 10 placement range matches to get ranked. And it essentially, when you are unranked, it will just randomly throw you in games from platinum, diamond platinum, down to like copper, pre-copper. And it basically just sees how you do. And then based on how you perform, boop, it kind of like cues in on a rank. And you could always tell when you're in one of these like high caliber games, A, you die in 2 seconds. B, you have your entire team yelling you, what the hell are you doing? He's over here, blah, 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 do this, do that. No, don't pick that. Like, I just like to the point where I just want to like mute the whole team and be like, just let me play, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
And I laugh because I remember there was like one day. As a matter of fact, it was the first time that I got a pentakill in League of Legends, and I picked of all people. This is years back. Trundle, a troll
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
and I built him out based on his passive, where he could hit and you'll leech life off of them. So I basically stacked life leeching abilities and attack speed. So base attack speed, I was already like almost 2.0 in attack speed. So I was already running up going whack, 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 whack with my thing. When I activated his speed buff, yo, that shit was just whack, 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 whack. That was literally, and I was hitting so fast, you could see my life bar just filling back up. So what's hilarious is I'm like, all right, I'll go top lane. I go in top lane and I am housing my cat top lane counterpart, like just handing his ass to. Every time he'd run away, I'd smack him, his ass would fall off. I'd go, "Excuse me, sir, you dropped this." Like that's how bad of a butt whooping I was in. To the point I was like 3-4 levels above top lane. To the point where they could have their jungle try and gank me with their top lane, and I'd kill both the jungler and the top lane guy. That's how powerful I got. I snowballed completely out of control. To the point where a fucking jungler was like, "Hey, if you want a jungle, I'll go up because you're way more powerful than pretty much anybody here." And I said, "Okay." And I literally just started going lane to lane, just killing everybody. And what ended up happening is it got to a point where I was powerful enough where I knew, like, okay, if I can get into a fight, I may be able to kill them all, but I may need some help. And it got to the point in the game where we're all bottom lane. I'm hiding, and I'm like, all right, what I'm gonna do is literally use the rest of my team as a meat shield. And if I can get in there and kill their 2 DPS, I'm gonna take out the whole team. Sure enough, the fight breaks out. I just haul ass straight to their DPS, activate my speed buff, whack, 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 kick the shit out of the first DPS, go to the next one, whack, 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 and got to the point where I had 2 people attacking me at the same time. I dropped my ultimate, and you could literally see my health bar doing this, and then doing this, and then doing this, and then doing this. Like it was just going down and going up, going down and going up. Bro, and it got to the point where the last person that I needed to kill was their mid lane, and she was trying to run away from me. And it got to the point where she kept running, and then like you could see I was catching up to her. I was putting up the stupid ice wall thing to slow her down, and she just like finally gave up and just turned around and went like just was auto attacking me. She's like, "All right, go ahead and kill me." But like it was funny because people were talking so much shit to me, like, "Oh, you're going with Trundle? What are you crazy?" Blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the game, I'm like, "Huh? It's funny how I don't hear anybody talking shit anymore."
Well, that's what I always wonder. That maybe that'd be a good thing to study if there's a correlation between someone that just gets so angry in these games and that if they all of a sudden start being more like racist or homophobic or misogynistic or not. Because it's obviously not all of them. Because I know people have raged at Red Eye,
Oh yeah.
and at least as far as I know, they're not that unless you come find out years later that they had like a Nazi museum in their basement or something.
Damn, John was fucked up. He had Nazi paraphernalia all over his house. Who would have known?
But what's interesting is that yeah, I personally have not seen this. I played all types of games from League of
Yeah.
Legends to Call of Duty to all this stuff where you think you'd see it. But it's interesting because in this article they're talking about how they'll like target these people, and also like in social media, like Discord is like a big thing where like people just hang in Discord chat rooms all day, and they'll do that here. And then what they'll do is they'll post these videos where someone is maybe criticizing the alt right. So, by the way, if that's what you guys think that this is, welcome. And then they
Hi.
would like go out like almost like an attack team, and they would like attack YouTube channels and comment sections and Reddit posts for anyone that's doing these things. And they were basically talking about like how you like recruit these people, like how you would get them, and you'd show them like all this information about like how you're being attacked and how you're being pulled down by all these different groups. And you're already probably sitting at home and you're probably upset or you're sad or you're depressed, and then you're hearing all this stuff. It was funny because in the Reddit post that was attached to this, there was a guy that kind of retold a story that I'd heard before, where they were saying that this one guy that he knew, like a cousin of his or something, got really racist because he met this group. At first, they were just playing video games together. Actually, I think it was Rainbow Six Siege, and they got him in a group, and they started sending him messages every day. And next thing you know, they send him those videos where it'd be like a black gang hitting a white guy or grouping up on a white guy and beating him up. And they just kept sending like all this stuff, and then they'd show him like all these other videos that would talk about like all these bad things that black people did. And it got to the point where all he was basically doing is playing this game with these people and then seeing all these articles, videos, and reports, and then he actually just started to believe it. Like every black person's like that, and he started hating black people. Right. And that's literally what it is. I mean, it's funny because they were saying how that's kind of like how ISIS gets people. Because you gotta think about when they get an American person who's like living at home in Iowa and shit, and all of a sudden they're flying to fucking Tehran or some shit.
Yeah.
Like the reason why you go and you look at their posts on social media and you find out, oh, this person was depressed, this one was lonely, this one didn't have friends, and they met up with this group, blah blah blah. And it's like, man, what really sucks is I really thought back in the day with video games online, I thought it would be easier to break this shit apart. I really thought it would. Because look, I get it. My big mistake is I didn't think you could be that ill informed with information, but I did not think that what would happen is you would isolate yourself into such a small group that you're getting all this information. You think you're informed, but it's bunk or bad or just one-sided information.
Yep.
And then that way you're just watching what you want to hear. And look, it happens. This is one thing I will say. It's not a Trump saying, but it does happen on both sides that you can get into your little bubble and then just be inundated with whatever you want to hear. But it's just crazy that here in video games that you can see this. I mean, I could tell you that during the election, I mean, we were doing shows. I saw people mentioning like Trump. I would say at least like 10-1 to mentioning Hillary or Bernie. And whenever they did mention Hillary, it was always negative. And it's funny because I look back later and I didn't really piece it together because I didn't care if somebody came in and said, "Oh, I love Trump." I'm like, okay, so what? I don't care. But now that I go back, I think about it. Back in the day when I would log in League of Legends, and even you'd see people talk about Trump, and then if they mentioned Hillary, it'd already be the same thing. Oh, emails. They almost never said anything about Bernie, and you start to wonder: are these just kids who are repeating something that they heard, or some of these people getting paid? Could it be Russians? I don't know. But it's just interesting to see that this kind of stuff is leaking into gaming, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised.
I mean, that's true. I mean, it's one of those things where you can't, like you say, like you would figure, oh no, it's not going to be that bad, and then you realize, like, holy crap, it's gotten bad. Like, I've never seen like any type of recruiting thing or anything like that, which is like you said, it's like so weird, but it does happen, and that's the biggest thing where, in looking at something like this, when they do go back and look at like, oh, I can't believe, Alex was like this and he became this like extremist and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, look back at his history and all. And it's like, yeah, there was something not like all right there with him and all that. And I think that's like a big overarching problem that kind of has been happening is the people that kind of get tied into this and they're the easiest ones that get tied into it is somebody that has some sort of like mental issue or whatever it is. And I feel like we've put such a stigma in this country of, oh, if you have any sort of mental issue, like, yeah, you can't, this person can't do anything. You can't rely on this person. And I think that it's something that we need to break the stigma, because if you sit there and you look at it, like, I think I was just watching a video of, like one of the people that I've mentioned before in our podcast, Jim Sterling, where he did about a review of We Happy Few. And one of the things that he sat there and he talks about in the video is like, oh, the developer kind of like put this thing of like, oh, it like explores the whole thing of these people taking these like mood altering drugs as like a thing of like, not everybody needs to do them. And he just looks at the camera and goes, mate, he says, I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for these type of mind-altering drugs to fix brain chemistry, like, I would have like crippling anxiety, depression, and all this stuff. He's like, if you really think we don't need it, tell you what, we'll go rent a cabin out in the middle of the woods and we'll hang out there for a week and I won't take my meds. And by the end of that week, you tell me if this is something that people do it just because they want to do it.
That's
And I
like the
was just
beginning
like,
of a Stephen King book.
yeah. And I sat there and I'm like, you know what? Like he's freaking true. Like there's people that depend on stuff like that to just operate normally. And it's like kind of messed up where you realize how human beings are like amazing just machines that work, and sometimes you need help. Like the chemistry of the human body is just completely fucked up. Like any tiny little thing can completely change how you are, you know. And I think that's one of those things where it's like you have a person that has that consciousness of like, oh, I may have this problem, I don't know if I have this problem, and they kind of feel resentful to want to go to a doctor to get any type of help for it. And they're the type of person where if you sit there and you look at it, it's kind of like, and I hate to bring this up as an example, it's kind of like those Nazis that were die hard, like, yes, Hitler's right and blah blah blah. Those are people that he talked to and convinced them, yeah, you know what, it's all these people's fault, and got behind him, because that's essentially what these kind of like groups do, is they find a person, we're doing this and this and that, and they start bombarding you with this information, and then you sit there and you're like, yeah, they're right, and like you don't kind of like make that decision for yourself type of a thing. And I believe it comes like one of the best things where I saw was an interview that I saw with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And the question that somebody asked him was, what do you think about these like flat earth believers? And he sat there and he said, it's not, that people, I can tell somebody what to believe and what not to believe. He says, what I see the problem is that we have a problem in the failure of our educational system, because these people are believing what they say instead of being curious and looking to find the answers to the questions themselves. And he's like, that's what education should do, is it should teach you to be like, to question stuff and say, hold on, I'm going to sit there and like fact check this. And I think that's what's happening is it's coming down to, you have people that are like, because like one of the biggest things that he asked him is like, what do you think about, is the world flat? And he's like, the only thing that can do a circular shadow is a perfect sphere. That's it. And he goes on to explain this, and it's like you look at it and it's like, damn, he makes a really good point. And like he's like, this has been proven time and time again back in ancient Greece. Like the Greeks were all about math and they proved it, And
I think some of these people need that though. I think they need to have a group, and you feel comfortable in that group. Because think about it, if you have, it's almost anything. If someone's attacking you, so if someone says, of course the earth is round, you're an idiot, for a lot of people that makes you even hold on tighter. That group becomes more tight knit. You feel like you're brothers in arms, us against the world. So sometimes, even if in the back of their head they're like, I know the world's round, but you have this group who's fighting and they're with you, and you've never had that, and you don't want to leave that. So,
but yeah, it's just crazy just seeing how it is. I think there's just so many different things that happen in this world that we need to just wake the hell up and just like focus on fixing that problem. And I think like I agree with what he said in that sense, is like we need to fix the educational system just so that people want to think more for themselves and not just be one of those sheep that follows the flock type of a thing.
And I thought that maybe getting a girlfriend or something would solve this. I was thinking, hey, maybe we could have a thing where, like, if a lady really feels like being nice to somebody, that they could be like, rent a girlfriend. Which I know it sounds like prostitution, but we'd fix it so it wouldn't be.